Welcome, Creative Brain Balance Programs. Patience Killen here. Today I'm going to talk about the sixth aptitude to thrive personally and professionally. And these are talked about in great detail in Daniel Pink's book, A Whole New Mind, which I highly recommend. This book was an inspiration for this series, and he talks about the six aptitudes that are natural abilities that have atrophied somewhat in the information age, which we are now out of. We are in the conceptual age, and we need to tune in and tune up some natural abilities that were ignored prior. They are right brain aptitudes. We need both left and right brain aptitudes. However, we have been using mostly left brain skills, and now is the time to step to the plate. And neuroscience is definitely discovering much, much more to support us in that. The six aptitudes, just to give you a little update on that in case you haven't watched my other videos: design, story, symphony, empathy, play, and meaning. Today we'll be talking about meaning. And even though we are pleasure seeking creatures, it has been proven that we have a natural drive for meaning, for a higher purpose in life. We can see that all through history. And I love a quote by Nobel laureate, an economist, by the way, Robert Fogel. And he says, spiritual or immaterial inequity is now as great a problem as material inequity, perhaps even greater. And we see this in the fact that there's a lot of dissatisfaction by people who have economic success. And the material things of cars, various toys, clothes, etc., they're only temporarily satisfying. And man is wired to want something more, to have purpose and coherence to his life, to drive forward and to bring personal fulfillment. So, how will we do that? There are four areas that can help us work on personal fulfillment and professional fulfillment and get to the bottom of meaning. Satisfying work, but to look at work in terms of a calling and find a place where you fit or you feel you can make the change that aligns with your values and that gives you a sense of purpose, that you are headed towards something that will be helpful, something that will make a difference. And be sure that your work has more of a feeling of being a calling you forward than the drudgery of work. That's old news. Today, it's very flexible with being able to work at home, with the internet allowing us to create jobs and businesses where there's a need, where you see so many imaginative new products, new services. A perfect example, as we've talked about in the other videos, is Shark Tank. You can create something that will be more of a calling. You have all the capabilities to do that. So I encourage you to step into that perspective and move forward on that basis. And just drop that idea of, I gotta, shoulda, go to work. Oh dear. Okay, so that's one. Um, Another area to keep our happiness going is to avoid negative events and emotions. And of course, they do enter our life, but we don't have to ruminate on them. Now, doctors are actually giving prescriptions to people to stop watching the news or reading media, getting on social media with negative emotion, the spin. It, who knows if it's true? It's just a perspective. Everything is a perspective. Point being is what you're thinking affects how you feel, affects your behavior, and that's your life. So if you want to have a low key life headed toward depression or low grade depression, go right ahead and fill your head with things that don't do it, that negative events and emotions. And you'll be right there, but you won't be anywhere near happiness. So I encourage you to remember you always have a choice to switch. And my last series was all about stepping into different perspectives. It had many exercises on how to shift your perspective when it was challenging to step into a place where you feel more empowered, where the brain is going to be releasing wonderful, good feeling chemicals. It's all doable. So be very, very careful. Be vigilant about what you let into your mind, into your brain. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay. Make sure that you create and cultivate a rich social network. We are social beings. As a matter of fact, research shows that longevity is based, number one, on our social contacts. If we're with people, if we have a sense of community, a sense of being loved and cared for, and love and caring others, that sort of nurturing and nourishment is the best prescription for a long, healthy life. And of course, in the workplace, the better the better your social network skills and sincere ability to be a part of it in an uplifting way, it increases productivity. And this is why companies are now creating lounges and gaming rooms for employees to get together and get to know each other than just for work partners, because they know that bonding and also that shift into the right brain with play and with social connection will create more inventions and a more productive a team to create keep abreast of the economic needs of the company. So that's very different than play used to be frowned upon. And of course, that's one of the aptitudes I've talked about. Um, the, the, the last area would be the emotions. You know, emotions aren't good or bad. They're simply signals to let you know how you're relating to the world. That's how we move through the world. Emotions affect the brain first, and they will always be there. You're not going to have a day without emotions. So when you recognize them and you can manage them for what they are, it makes you a happier person. And focusing on certain emotions is very uplifting and keeps your positivity going. Um, Gratitude is number one. The top three: gratitude, forgiveness, optimism. Um, to change your perspective or to change your view on something to a more positive state is really important. You have a couple of paths. When you hear something, you can start worrying about it or immediately think the negative. Catch it and change it. Say, what could be good about this? Start asking yourself questions. What's good about it that I don't know yet? And remember that worry is imagination poorly used. Use your imagination for wonderful things. That's what it's for meeting challenges, for a sense of accomplishment. How much worry, how much bad imagining, poorly used imagination has ever happened in your life? Very little or none, I would think. So anyway, that's a basic core. And I also thought it was interesting that this sense of meaning, moving from materialism to more self-expression, expressing our authentic self, was a topic of a conference that included the Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of Tibet. He's exiled, but he promotes peace and all good things around the world. And he, working with neuroscientists and the idea of the Tibetan Buddhists meditating as a path to meaning, came up with the idea that he said, really the brain and meditators, they're really on the same path. The brain is always looking for something that will improve life and reduce suffering. And that is the goal of meditation. And then, of course, contemplation of the reality of life nature of reality is something that is all about meaning, purpose, coherence, which is our natural ability. But we perhaps haven't thought about it. So the brain is wired to find meaning, to be clear on purpose, to lead a very vital life. So I think that's very cool. All righty. So Pink says you've got to get with the program, and you have to start taking happiness very seriously. And number 2, you have to take spirituality very seriously. And spirituality not as in religion and rules, but in your man's quest for meaning, however that might be. Some people find it through artwork, through meditation, through movement, through the arts. There are many different ways to just be quiet, sit in silence, but pause. Give yourself time. Now, we've got a few exercises. One of them would be to read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, because he was the classic example of the change in psychology, that man didn't just need to survive, but that really the motivating factor psychologically was to have meaning, to bring a person forward into a fulfilling life. And it's a small book, and it is famous. He wrote it when he was in a Nazi prison, and it's the classic for Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Find a labyrinth. That's wonderful to get your mind into the right, to focus on the right side of the brain, to get into flow, so to speak, that state where time is irrelevant. And you can find labyrinths all over the world by just going to www.labyrinthsociety.com. I just thought that was very cool. I did not know that until I read Pink's book. Also, there's an exercise. Pretend you're 90 years old. And if you are 90 years old, great. And reflect on your life. What were your regrets? What would you have done differently? What were your accomplishments? And step into the idea that you are going to live another full life. How would you do it differently? And spend, at least a half hour to an hour on this and cull through your memories. And that will help you be very clear about where you want to contribute, what has heart, soul, and meaning for you. And so whatever time you do have left to go forward, you may change the path that you are on. You may emphasize certain things more after you do this exercise. And then the one I like the most is every day, at least once, make it a habit to think gratitude, all the things you're grateful for. Because one of the 4 things to keep us on track for personal fulfillment and professional success is to emphasize gratitude, forgiveness, all those good optimism, all those good feeling emotions. And it could be when you sit in your car before you turn the ignition, after you brush your teeth, but it's most important to be consistent. Make it a daily ritual. And that's much easier if you connect it to a habit that's already in place. So that's what I would say to help you fine-tune meaning. All of these attributes are powerful. They're ours to enjoy. Have fun with the exercises on all 6 videos. And I just wish you the very best of vitality. I know that you are capable of thriving, and I look forward to bringing more information about how to think better, to feel better, and to play. Take care. Patience Killen, Creative Brain Balance Programs.com.